Chapter title, Elbaf Snow. Side note, let's talk about snow. Back on Whiskey Peak, Luffy made this masterpiece, Mr. Snowman, the man who fell from the sky. What? Oh yeah, makes sense. Snow does indeed fall from the sky. Mr. Snowman there punched a hole through the head of Snow Queen, the icy sculpture of Usopp. Just a random scene of boys fucking around, right? At the end of Whiskey Peak, Luffy is all giddy about snowing, and he's sure it will happen again for some reason. That's a very odd way of finishing a story arc, which had nothing to do with snow. Afterwards, when the crew is reaching the Drum Kingdom, Luffy is once again thrilled about all the snow covering the mountains, spouting things like, "I'm in heaven," and "Snow is so white and nice." In that same arc, we also get the infamous quote from Luffy, "People in snow countries don't sleep because they'll die." Maybe the weirdest sentence spoken by Luffy in One Piece history. Later, after leaving Alabasta, Luffy asks Nami if the next island will be snowy, to which he replies, "You've had enough snow." Finally, in Punk Hazard, Luffy is as expected excited about half of it, the snowy half. I'm saying finally because that's where I stopped and asked myself, what the fuck are you doing? So I don't have a firm conclusion to this train of thought. But hear me out. On a snowy day, from the heavens fell baby Luffy, and one day he will battle against the Snow Queen, Ibu, who is white as snow beneath the trash bag, because she never goes out in the sun, as she strives to be forever young and doesn't want the wrinkles and shit. Luffy will punch through the hair of Imu, finally putting her to sleep. She never slept before, that's why she always has red bloodshot eyes. The end. And now, the beginning. We see people around the world be more accepting of giants, like my man Umid. Hey, did you know Umid backwards is Timu? That's all thanks to Harald's hard work, which continues with a speech about unity, how there are many countries with races coexisting and living happily ever after. Not so sure about that. Most countries in One Piece are super segregated. Almost all of them are inhabited exclusively by humans. It seems humans had the upper hand when it was time to divide the land, and were like, "Fishmen, you can have your own island, 10,000 meters down the sea. Tontata, you little shits, go in the backyard. Minx. See that elephant over there? What other races are there anyway? All the rest are brought to the brink of extinction. A notable exception would be Whole Cake Island, where you can find pretty much every race in the world living there harmoniously. One small downside, you must pay the rent with your soul. But in exchange, you get lifetime access to chocolate.
Chocolate! Chocolate! Chocolate!
It's better than the alternative. The other place where you can find every race in the world, the slave shops, and subsequently the Celestial Dragon's dungeons. The only true place where racism doesn't exist, and you don't need to pay a fee to be there, is pirate ships. Well, Harald still believes, still going strong, even after Ida died. Rest in peace. He says Ida taught him what it means to have a strong country, to forgo the backwards violent traditions and focus on the children, who are the future. Similar to Otohime's mentality. Harald is poised to reap the rewards of his pursuit, while Ida is pursued by the Reaper from the poison. But throughout their discussion, she maintains her positive outlook, radiating love, again like Otohime, and she never stops smiling. Even at her final moment, she died smiling. As I said before, there are many characters that died smiling without possessing the D initial in their name. So I think Oda used that image to portray characters who have no regrets, who accepted their fate. Also, it looks cool. I was gonna say it's for characters that achieved their dream, but Luffy smiled when he was about to die in lockdown. And on the flip side, Whitebeard didn't smile when he clearly realized his dream. He had the biggest family in One Piece. I forgot Big Mom existed for a second. And nothing changed. Anyway, very beautiful panels for Ida's death, showing everyone's reaction while snow is falling in the background. I think snow, don't worry, this will be quick, is usually drawn by Oda in bittersweet scenes. Like Mary's funeral, for example. A year later, Amber Alert, Shanks is missing. We know he's not in Fusa village yet, according to the timeline. So he's sailing around looking for rubber fruits or just partying. Maybe he's dueling Mihawk while he still owns 2 arms. Shanks was about to become a member of the God's Knights, but he bailed on his last mission, which opened the spot for Harald. Thank goodness. The Goros escort him to the empty throne room where Imu is waiting to brand Harald again, but this time it hurts. When the first tattoo was shown, we got no reaction, let alone a harrowing Harald howl. Let's see the new tat. It's pretty much the same, except that Imu added a horseshoe for good luck. I mean, the obvious parallel would be the branding of celestial dragon slaves with the hoof of the dragon. The difference is, with this brand, Harald gained a boost of power along with immortality. Now he just needs to carve a pentagram in Elbaf, and the deal with the devil will be finalized. Actually, you have to complete another mission. Then your wish will be granted, says Imu. Jesus, man. It's been like 20 years since Harald started working for the government. I miss the old days, when all you needed for a deal was to sell your soul and maybe throw in a slain relative or two for max perks.
62 cents.
Imu then communicates through that Elbaf pentagram with Harald and gives him his final mission. It's an order to amass an army of giants from the whole Elbaf to be at the world government's disposal. We know the government always dreamed of that shit, from all the experiments of gigantification in Punk Hazard. Law said the world government has been trying to make an army of giant soldiers for centuries, and they always failed. So naturally they'd prefer the real thing, but Harald refuses, of course, since everything he did as king was to achieve the exact opposite, to change the giants' barbaric culture, and thus their public perception, to show the world that they are more than savage warriors, more than killing machines. They can get along peacefully and create a utopia. That sits out the window now. Harald pleaded to pay the price alone, but Imu says the sins of the giants are too many for a single person to bear. What the fuck did they do? He said sorry, man. God is supposed to be forgiving. Unfortunately, Harald has no choice but to obey Imu now, because those who enter the Deep Sea Covenant lose their own will. This absolute power over someone reminds me of Django's hypnosis. No, it actually reminds me of Moria, who has many similarities with Imu. First of all, after taking someone's shadow, Moria makes a pact, like Imu. Moria's version went like this: I'll give you a voice and a body, but in exchange, forget your previous relationships and become a loyal soldier. The shadow nods, and the pact is sealed. Then Moria puts the shadow in a corpse to create a zombie, which has no choice but to obey him as master. Additionally, the zombie's body was immortal, in a way. No pain, no fatigue, no death. Furthermore, with Moria's ability, you could boost someone's power level by stuffing him with shadows, though it was a very short-lived power-up. But the similarities don't end there. Moria also did the whole possession thing, but manually. Moria got inside the body of Ors in a cockpit to pilot him like Megazord. He could completely control Ors and even transform his shape by manipulating his shadow. Moria is like Imu at home. For now, Harald can still resist Imu's control and orders to be chained to a pillar. Another correlation to Moria, since the zombies could rebel too for a short period before ultimately surrendering. Harald's final order is to bring him Loki and Jaru. So Loki, right after losing his dear mother, has to murder his dad, probably after consuming the mythical devil fruit of Elbaf. And then Shanks needs to show up to stop Loki and lock him away again. Shanks was the only one who could subdue him, so he has to be close by, or just teleport here. Like in Marineford, when he popped up to stop the war right after fighting Kaido. And every theory was a version of him having teleportation or a time control ability. He's still a big mystery to this day, but Oda should expose his ass soon. At least he's not evil. Well, who knows what the future holds until then.